We're going on a trip back in time today. Yeah, we're going to explore the history of cigarettes, but not just, the smoking itself, but how cigarettes were marketed, how they were perceived. We're going to look at it through a specific lens, actually. Doctors.
Oh, interesting.
It's a fascinating journey, I think you'll agree, that reveals a lot about trust and authority. How our understanding of healthy choices, how that's evolved over time.
It really is. It forces us to confront how easily all of our perceptions can be shaped, especially by figures we trust, like you said, doctors.
Imagine a time when cigarettes were marketed as, sophisticated, even healthy.
Oh,
Think about those old ads you've seen, with doctors recommending certain brands.
yeah.
It's mind-boggling now.
It is.
But back then, like in the early 20th century, it was just a common sight. It's just normal.
Right. It's a stark reminder of just how much the cultural landscape can shift. I mean, drastically. Back then, doctors were seen as the ultimate authority on health. Their word was like gospel. So, I mean, when they appeared in ads endorsing cigarettes, can you imagine
Yeah.
the message that sent to the public? I mean, it was incredibly powerful.
It wasn't just like a passing trend either. I mean, companies like Lucky Strike went all in. They were sending free cartons to doctors,
Really?
asking if they found their cigarettes less irritating.
Oh, wow.
They even put it in their ads like 20,679 physicians say.
Wow, that's such a clever tactic. Playing on the public's trust. People trust doctors. You have to remember, this was before the internet, before, widespread access to medical information. So people relied heavily on their physician, on their doctors for guidance. So seeing a doctor, endorsing a product, even cigarettes, it carried a lot of weight.
It makes you wonder about the doctors that participated in these campaigns. Did they really believe that cigarettes were harmless, or were they swayed by, the marketing? By financial incentives? I mean, what was going on?
It's a complex question. I'm sure some might have been true believers, but others, maybe they were just caught up in the prevailing scientific understanding of the time, which was still evolving.
Right.
We know more now than we did then. And then, of course, there's the allure of prestige, and the financial gain can't be ignored.
It wasn't just Lucky Strike either.
Right.
Like, Philip Morris claimed their cigarettes were prescribed by doctors for throat irritation.
Wow.
They even used images of doctors with, their medical tools in the ads.
Really?
It's like they were trying to medicalize smoking, make it seem like it was legitimate, a legitimate health practice.
Oh, absolutely. And the More Doctors Smoke Camels campaign. I mean, talk about a masterpiece of manipulation. Imagine seeing your own doctor, the one who tells you to eat your vegetables and all that, lighting up a camel.
Right.
It normalizes the behavior. Like, it's okay. It even associates it with intelligence, with expertise.
This type of marketing was incredibly effective. I mean, it really was. It tapped into people's desire to emulate, figures that they respected, like doctors, to make choices that aligned with what experts recommended.
Right.
And it's the same principle, really, behind celebrity endorsements that we see today.
Yeah.
But, with an added layer of trust.
Mm.
Because it was coming from the medical field.
Makes sense. These campaigns, they really played on, like our inherent biases, that desire to conform.
Yeah.
It's easy to see how people could be misled, especially back then when, the scientific evidence linking smoking to all these serious health issues, I mean, it was still emerging.
Right, like they were creating this image of smoking
Yeah.
as not only acceptable, but almost aspirational, right? Well, if doctors are doing it, it can't be that bad.
Right. Exactly. And for a long time, that message it resonated with people. But then in the late 40s, early 50s, we start to see this, a subtle shift. Yeah, a subtle shift in advertising tactics. Some cigarette ads, they start encouraging smokers to try it for yourself.
Oh, really?
And see how mild or satisfying a particular brand was.
So it's almost like they were acknowledging, that there might be some differences between brands when it came to health. But they were still hesitant.
Yeah.
To fully admit the risks.
It reflects a growing awareness of those potential health risks, associated with smoking, whether it was genuine concern or just a calculated attempt to deflect any blame.
Right.
It's hard to say for sure.
It's interesting to think about what was happening behind the scenes at these tobacco companies. Like, were they starting to see the writing on the wall? Were they grappling with, the ethical implications of their marketing?
That is a question that historians and ethicists still debate today. But one thing is for sure. The tide was turning. As more and more research came out, linking smoking to all these, serious health issues, lung cancer, heart disease.
Yeah.
It became harder and harder to ignore the truth.
And then came the bombshell. The Surgeon General's report in 1964. I mean, that was a game changer, wasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That report, it was based on extensive scientific research, and it definitively linked cigarette smoking to lung cancer and a bunch of other deadly diseases. I mean, it was a watershed moment in public health because it finally put the weight of scientific evidence behind the growing concerns about smoking.
You have to imagine that for smokers at the time, this was a wake-up call.
Right.
Challenged everything they had been led to believe about smoking, even by their own doctors.
Right. Imagine, years of trusting these messages, maybe even rationalizing your habit because of them. And then suddenly the rug is pulled out from under you. It's like, how do you reconcile that with your own choices? It really speaks to the power these campaigns had. I mean, they are effective.
It's like their whole world was turned upside down. Makes you wonder how people reacted. Did they immediately quit? Did they deny the evidence?
It was probably a mix of everything. Some people were undoubtedly shaken and decided to quit cold turkey, Others, they might have tried to rationalize their habit, clinging to that belief that it won't happen to me. And some, they might have just ignored the evidence altogether.
It must have been a difficult time for smokers, trying to make sense of all this new information.
Right.
And reconcile it with their own personal experiences.
Absolutely. And remember, this was a time when smoking was, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
It was deeply ingrained in our society. People smoked everywhere. In restaurants, on airplanes, even in hospitals. It was considered normal, even sophisticated. So to suddenly be told that this habit was killing you, it's jarring. It really was a jarring experience.
It's a reminder that our understanding of health is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
I mean, what we believe to be safe and healthy today,
Right.
it might be proven harmful tomorrow. Who knows?
Exactly. And that's why it's so important to be, like a critical thinker, to question, what we see, what we hear, to stay informed about the latest, scientific research. We can't simply rely on what we were told in the past or, what we see in advertising.
It's about taking ownership of our health and making informed choices
right.
based on the best available evidence.
Exactly. And that includes being aware of how marketing and advertising can influence our perceptions, even when it comes to something as personal as our health.
That Surgeon General's report, I mean, it really marked a turning point
Yeah.
in the way we view cigarettes. I mean, it led to warning labels on packs, right?
Yeah.
And bans on certain types of advertising. And I mean, eventually to those massive settlements with tobacco companies.
And we can't forget the doctors. After years of, being used to promote smoking,
Right,
they they were suddenly, they were at the forefront
right.
of educating people about the dangers of smoking. They became instrumental in helping people understand, the risks and encouraging them to quit.
It's incredible how drastically the medical community's stance shifted
Yeah.
from, promoting it to,
Yeah.
it makes you think about how those doctors who had once endorsed cigarettes must have felt about it all.
It must have been quite a reckoning to have been a part of a campaign that, downplayed the risks
Yeah.
of something that was later revealed to be so harmful.
It really speaks to the importance of, constantly questioning and reevaluating our understanding of health. What we think is harmless today could turn out to be dangerous tomorrow.
Exactly, and it highlights the need for transparency, accountability,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to industries that have a vested interest in, shaping public perception.
This whole story, it makes you appreciate how far we've come in terms of, public health awareness,
Right.
but it also serves as a cautionary tale. Because
Yeah.
even today, despite all that we know about the dangers of smoking, millions of people still struggle to quit.
It's a reminder that addiction is a complex issue and there's no easy answer. It's also a testament to the power of marketing and, how it can influence our choices, even when we know better.
We've covered a lot of ground today,
Yeah.
from, the early days of cigarette marketing to that groundbreaking Surgeon General's report and its impact on, public health.
It's been a fascinating journey exploring, how our perceptions of cigarettes have evolved and how that reflects those broader societal shifts
And trust.
in authority and our, understanding of health.
It really makes you think about how we form our own beliefs about health and the importance of, critical thinking, especially when it comes to information that impacts our, our well-being.
Absolutely. It's crucial to be informed, to question what we hear, and to make choices that, align with our own values
Yeah.
and our understanding of health.
Well, on that note, I'd like to leave our listeners with a little something to ponder. Check out the song Cigarettes and Coffee by Otis Redding. It captures a certain mood or era associated with smoking. It's a great way to reflect on how much, our perception of this habit has changed.
That's a fantastic suggestion. Music often reflects, the social norms and attitudes of its time, and that song certainly does that.
Thanks for joining us on this exploration of cigarettes, marketing, and the evolution of public health. It's been an enlightened conversation.
It's been a pleasure. Always happy to, dive into these thought-provoking topics.